Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. This is Isaiah 65, Yeshayahu chapter Samach Hey. And this is Saul Weinreb, your host for the podcast. In 64, we read of Yeshayahu's prayer to God, where he prayed to God and basically, blamed him, so to speak, and said, all of these years that you have been hiding from us have caused us to leave you, have caused us to forsake you. And then he begged God, please do not let this anger last forever. So God gives an answer now in chapter 65. And he starts by defending himself, so to speak, explaining why he had to cause all the suffering, but also a promise that no matter what, because of God's own grace and favor for us, he is going to never let us suffer, never let us suffer forever, and that there will be an end, even, and to keep that promise. So let's go ahead and read chapter 65, verse 1. Nidrashti lilo sha'alu, God says, I searched out for people that weren't even asking. They weren't even coming to pray to me. Nimtsesi lilo bikshuni, I made myself found to those people who didn't search after me. Amarti hineni, God says. I said, here I am. El goy lo koravish me. But I said it to a nation that wasn't calling out in my name. Perasti yodai kol hayom al am sorer, God says. I reached out my hands all day to this nation that turned away from me. Haholchim haderech lo tov, that were going on a path that was not good. Achar machshavosehem, they were going after their own ideas, their own plans, not mine. Ha'am hamachisim osi, or in verse 3, the nation that was making me angry. Al panai tamid, they were constantly in my face. Zovchim baganos, they were bringing sacrifices to other gods in their gardens, umekatrim al halavinim, and they were bringing incense on their altars, on their bricks. Hayoshvim bakvorim, they were sitting involving in necromancy, literally sitting in graveyards. Uvanetsurim yalinu, and they were sleeping in caves among rocks where they practiced all kinds of sorcery. Ochlim b'sarach hazir, and they were eating the flesh of pigs. Umerak pigulim kilehem, and their bowls, their food, their vessels within which they cooked their food were full of soup, of disgusting things which I don't allow them to eat. You guys weren't keeping the rules I gave you, God says. You guys were doing your own thing. Ha'omrim kirave lecha al tigash bi ki kidashticha. What they used to say was, you stay with yourself. Not only did they not pray and ask me to come to them, when I tried, they told me stay away. Al tigash bi, don't come close to me. Ki kidashticha, because I'm going to use the Radak's explanation here, because we are holier than you. We know better than God. Eile oshan bi'api. These were like smoke in my eyes. Eish yokedes kol hayom. Like a flame that just constantly burning. Hiniksuva lefanai, behold, it is written in front of me. These words, the sins, the things that they did, I know about them. They're all written down. I got the records here. Don't pretend that this didn't happen. This reminds me of back in chapter 4, all the way back in the beginning, verse 6, where God said, I'm sorry, chapter 4, verse 3. Kadosh Yamar Kol HaKasuv L'Chaim Yerushalayim. That in the future days, everyone who is written for life in Jerusalem. The idea that God was keeping records of those that belong and those that don't. The central theme of the high holidays of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I'll continue. So it is written before me, Lo echashe, I will not be silent. Ki im shilamti, for I will repay. V'shilamti al chekom, and I will repay it right on their laps, or on their breasts. Avonosechem va'avonos avosechem, your sins and the sins of your forefathers, yachtav, all together. Amar Adonai, says God, asher kitur al harim, that they burned incense on the mountaintops. V'al hagvaos, and the high places, cherfuni, they said things that were blasphemous towards me. Umadosi pu'ulasam, I have measured out and kept track of their doings. Rishona el chekam. In full into their laps. Ki Amar, so that's verse 7. I'm looking at verse 8 now. However, so this was God saying, don't blame me. It's not my fault. I tried. You guys didn't listen. But then God turns around and says, don't worry so much. Because Ko Amar Adonai, so says God, Ka'asher yimotzei hatirosh ba'eshkol, just like there is wine and inside the grapes. V'amar al tashchiseu, and one says, don't destroy the grapes because you're going to lose the wine that's in it. Ki v'rachabo, because there's something wonderful inside it. Kein e'eseh leman avadai, so too I, just like a person can go to their vineyard and cut the grapes, but they're careful not to ruin them. I might cut the people off the trees, but I will be careful not to ruin them. This is what I'm going to do for my servants. Levilti hashchis hakol, I will not allow them all to be destroyed. This kind of brings back the memory, if you go back to chapter 6, verse 13, right after Yeshayahu asked God, when will this be over? God said, only after a lot of destruction and a lot of punishment. But then he ended by stating, V'yod ba'asiriya, but there will be a portion of the people, v'shava, that they will return. Zera, and Zera Kodesh Matzavta, we said that the foundation of the people are the holy children that will remain, the holy seed. So God is making the same promise here. Yes, there will be punishment, but yes, I will not give up, and I will always bring the righteous people back. Verse 9, V'otzimi Yaakov Zera, that same language, Zera, like we had Zera Kodesh Matzavta back in chapter 6. I will bring forth children from Jacob, children of the Jewish people, Umi Yehuda, and from Judah, Yoresh Harai, that will come and inherit my mountains, V'reshua Bechirai, and my chosen people will inherit it, Va'avodai yishkenu shama, and my servants will dwell there, V'haya HaSharon l'nevetzon, and the Sharon, the plains of Sharon, will be a place where sheep will pasture, V'emek Achor l'revetz bakar, and the valley of Achor will be a place where cattle will crouch, V'ami asher drashuni, to the people of my nation that did seek me out. V'atem ozvi Adonai, but you who forsake God, hashechechim es har kodeshi, that have forgotten all about my holy mountain, ha'orchim lagad shulchan, the one who set a table up for God, which is a reference to an idol. Also, sometimes a reference to the God of just luck and chance. V'hamimalim lamini mimisach, and filling a pouring bowl for mini, which is also a reference to an idol. It's some kind of a star or a constellation. Umanisi eschem lacherev. And you guys, the ones that are still looking to other sources besides God, to other strengths, umanisi eschem lacherev, I am going to make you destined for the sword. And you will all be slaughtered. Because I did call out to you and you didn't answer. Dibarti, I spoke and you did not listen. You did bad in my eyes. You chose a path in life that I did not want you to choose. Therefore, verse 13, so says God, my servants, they will eat at the feast, but you will be hungry. My servants will drink, and you'll be thirsty. My servants will celebrate and joy, and you will be embarrassed and ashamed. My servants will sing and rejoice because of a happy heart, because they'll have everything that they can ever possibly need and want and ask for vatem. But you, titzaku, you will cry out because your hearts will be lacking and missing and suffering. And from a broken heart and a broken spirit, you're going to cry and shriek. Your name will become like a curse for mine that are chosen. The people that will use you as an example of someone who is cursed. And God will kill you. But his servants, they will get a new name, just like we had several chapters ago where God says in the future a new name will be called to the place, Zion and Jerusalem. Over here God says that a new name will be called to his servants as well. For whoever blesses himself in the land, the kind of blessing isparech belahei amen. The blessings that he will say will be in a trustworthy, real God, not in those false things of just sheer chance and luck and constellations and whatever else you want to believe in. V'hanish baba aretz, and those who swear in the land, yishova belahei amen. They will swear in the name of a God who's trustworthy and real. Because the suffering from the past will be gone and forgotten, and they will be hidden from my eyes. I'm going to create a new heaven, and a new land. And the things that happened in the past won't even be remembered anymore, and people won't even think about them anymore. But rather, there will only be a rejoicing and joy forever and ever. In this new world that I'm going to create, because I will create Jerusalem, Gila, right? As joy, v'ama, and her nation, Masos, will be the best translation as I see for that is delight. V'galti b'Yerushalayim, and I will be happy with Jerusalem. Just like I said, I will create Jerusalem as a Gila, right? V'sasti ba'ami, and I will be happy with my nation. V'lo yishama ba'od kol b'chi v'kol zaka. No longer will there be heard in Jerusalem the sound of crying and the sound of weeping and screaming. Lo yeh misham od ul yamim v'zakein. There won't be any longer a young man or an elderly man, asher lo, a young person or an elderly person, asher lo yamali es yamav, who will not fill out his days and live a full life. No one will die prematurely. Ki hanar ben mea shana yamus. Someone who's young would be someone who dies when they're 100 years old. That would be considered young. V'hachote, and one who is a sinner, ben mea shana yikulol. The way he'll be cursed is by dying at 100. In other words, I'm using that the explanation of the Radak and the Malvim to explain those words. Uvanu vatim v'yashavu, and they will build houses and they will live in them, and they will plant vineyards, v'yachlu piryam, and they will eat their fruit. V'yivnu v'achar yeshev. They will not build homes and then get attacked, and an enemy will come and live in those homes. V'yitu v'achar yochel. They won't plant trees and then have someone else come and take the trees and eat the fruit. Because my people will live as long as a tree, just like trees live for hundreds and hundreds of years, so too will my people. The things that they create will get worn out and used up while they're still alive. In other words, the image is that people create things and then the people usually die before their things do. Their things can last much longer, but in this new world, they'll live for so long that they'll use up their things before they become old. Lo yigu lo rik, their efforts will never be for vain. V'lo yeldu la b'hola, and their children that they give birth to will not be destroyed and taken away from them. Kizera, and they will always, be able to raise them. Kizera bruchei Adonai, because they are the children of those who are blessed by God. V'tzetzoehem itam, and their offspring will be with them for the rest of their lives. V'hayaterim, they'll never have to send them away, God forbid, because of war, because of slavery, because of suffering, because of poverty, because of strife, etc. V'hayaterim yikro v'aniene, I will answer their prayers even before they pray. Odhe medabrim v'ani eshma, while they're still speaking, before they even finish speaking, I'm already listening to what they're saying. Ze'ev v'tola yiru ke'echad, the wolf and the sheep will pasture together. V'aryeh kavokor yochal teven, and the lion, just like the cattle, will eat straw. No, even the animal kingdom will be peaceful. There will no longer be predation. V'nachash shafar lachmo, and the snake, instead of attacking and biting and eating creatures, the snake will eat dirt. Lo yareu v'lo yashchisu, they won't do bad to one another. They will not destroy one another. B'chol har kachi, on my entire holy mountain, there will not be any strife, not between human beings, not between animals. Amar Adonai, so says God. Thank you for studying chapter 65. Looking forward to studying chapter 66 together.